Q&A event. My name is Anamari Fanthorpe, and I'll be your host today. Today, I have Jamie Farmer here from Buy Kiwi, and we're going to be hitting a hot topic, which is recession and how to recession-proof your business with e-commerce. So welcome, Jamie. Thanks so much for joining us here on Digital Boost.
Thank you so much. It's a pleasure to be here and look forward to running through the presentation today and also taking any questions and answers towards the end as well.
Perfect. And on that note, during the Q&A section, or if you'd like to drop questions in at any time throughout the session, you can use the chat feature or the comments section, depending on what platform you're streaming from. I'll be pulling those questions through so that Jamie can answer them when we get to the Q&A. So what I'm going to do now is mute myself and let you kick off. Thanks, Jamie.
Thank you very much. Hopefully everyone can see the screen okay. Just a little bit of an agenda. So just going to run through an introduction and background around myself, and then talk about what we're seeing in the market right now. A lot of us will be feeling this every day. What are the implications for business, and how Buy Kiwi specifically can help Kiwi-owned businesses, and then how you can get on board. There's a couple of special offers towards the end for e-commerce businesses, but I know there's a number of you who aren't in e-commerce. There's a special offer for non-e-commerce businesses as well. So showing my age, but 25 years of corporate and business life. I was lucky enough to work for General Electric and accidentally be part of the digital age right from the get-go. I can remember first getting email, worked with Google from day one, Salesforce, Microsoft, all that fun stuff, and learned a lot about business models, and then went into self-employment about 7 years ago. We now have 3 companies with 7 brands, and we look after over 72,000 SMEs across 168 countries across those brands. So we get an enormous amount of data and insight around what's happening in various markets, what's working and what's not working. I also did a crazy thing a couple of years ago. I went back and did my MBA, and my research paper was on digital disruption and business model innovation. So really bringing the tech side together to help businesses innovate and be successful as they move forward. And after 3 years of hard work, we launched Buy Kiwi in January 2023. And I'll talk about that a little bit more as we get on. But it's an e-commerce platform built for and specifically only for Kiwi-owned businesses. So an overseas business cannot be on Buy Kiwi, purely for New Zealand-owned businesses. And showing my age, this will be, if it comes true, my 5th recession. And for many of you, maybe your first. There's a lot of new business owners out there who haven't been through a recession before, and that can be a little bit daunting. And yes, there's challenges, don't get me wrong, but there's also opportunities, and I'll talk through some of that today. But overall, plenty of good, but also lots of not so good business experience to draw on. I've learned more from the tough times and the things that didn't go well than the things that did go well. So it's funny how you take those scars and you learn from them, and as you go through each business cycle, it helps you prepare better. So hopefully I can share some of that with you today. But what we're seeing, we're all reading the papers. I'm sure many of us are feeling with their own bank accounts as well. But the poor old Kiwi consumer at the moment is being squeezed. And as we got little Batman and Robin there, they're really battening down the hatches. ASB, most economists are tipping a recession throughout the year. I would argue we're technically in a recession now if you look at discretionary spend. And I would also argue the Reserve Bank is overextended on the interest rate rises so far. And that may actually mean that we get an earlier easing cycle towards the back end of this year. But that's a forecast rather than being a 100% concrete prediction. But certainly the consumer out there is being squeezed. It's inflation-driven, interest rate-driven. $150 a week coming out of the average household budget at the moment just on inflation alone. And interest rates have pulled more than $3 billion out of the economy. If you think about the economy, I often describe it as a washing machine. It's got a certain amount of water in it. And during the COVID times, the government added more water through the easing part of the cycle. And what we're seeing right now is the machine spinning slower, so that money is not moving around as fast, but also some of the water is being taken out via interest rate rises. But this is going to be a weird recession, and we're seeing it right now. So we've got recessionary metrics out there, but unemployment's not really moving much at all. Most recessions, you see unemployment move up a lot. If I go back in time to when I left school, unemployment for my age group was 30%. So only 2 in 3 people had a job. So this one's quite different, where it's more about households tightening up on spend rather than unemployment really coming through and causing the pain there. And it just means the size of the pie is getting smaller. So there's more going towards interest rates, but here's the impact. Someone outside of Auckland who bought an average price house in 2020, their fortnightly payments are going up by about $470 a fortnight. And this is flowing through now and really won't peak on the impact until about September, because New Zealand, we fix most of our home loans for a 1 to 2 year period. In America, they do 30-year fixed rates. So they see a different impact with rate increases. We see a far sharper impact and far quicker. But when you combine that with the $150 a week coming out for inflation, as a business owner, that means the pie out there is getting smaller. So it's particularly discretionary spend exposed businesses will be feeling the highest amount of impact. But on the business side as well, not outside of discretionary spend, we're seeing some business models being challenged. So the one that's really in the media at the moment is construction. And what's happened there is a lot of fixed contract deals have been done, and then price of the inputs, price of goods have gone up, and suddenly those fixed contracts aren't profitable, and they're leading to long-term firms actually going insolvent, unfortunately. So we're seeing rising costs and interest rates cause some problems. Labour shortages have certainly played a big part over the last 3 years. Some good news from the labour perspective with the migration numbers coming through. I know there's other social impacts to that, but I'm focusing mainly on the economic side here. But we're seeing a decreasing demand and decreasing sales across most segments right now. And that's combining with margin pressure. The only sort of good news around the margin pressure is freight costs have come down substantially. I've heard some incidental feedback that the freight costs are actually now lower than pre-COVID. So that's encouraging after getting up to 14,000, 15,000 container. But it's leading to a cash flow crunch. So lower profits and an increase in business failures. Some long-term firms, their business models being struggled. And for most of us, it's probably going to get tougher before it gets better. Our view is over the next 3 to 6 months is going to be the toughest period. So we're not talking about years of pain here, but certainly some short, sharp pain to work through. Once that comes through, we do see a lot of upside. With China firing back up, that's going to help with inflation. The decreased demand will help the inflation, rising immigration will help labour. So we do see some real rays of sunlight out there, some real positivity, but not denying the next quarter or two is going to be particularly challenging around profitability, in particular in cash flow. So what have I learned from past recessions? Firstly, it is not the end of the world. Sometimes it can feel like that. I know during the GFC, I saw some extremely senior people lose it. But you've got to bring it back into context that it's a part of a cycle. We've had 10 years plus of very good economic growth. Business has probably never been easier. And we're going through a bit of a period where I call it the flush out, where there's a bit of a clean out around some businesses that haven't adjusted or changed to the times. And the upside of that is the strong actually get stronger. And there's been so many case studies done over the years around businesses that outperform with market share and profitability post-recessions. And some of the common threads is they take advantage of the declining competition. If you look at the construction sector right now, with those insolvencies, some big players have come out of the market. So the other players now have an opportunity to pick up share and also to reprice. So opportunities certainly present. But point 4 is a massive one. And I think most of us during COVID have had a lot of experience with this, that with excellence, with cost and with cash flow management. So being close to your numbers, your accountant should always be your best friend. And you should always have a great accountant who can help you with cash flow forecasts to make sure you're managing it effectively and profitably. And then positioning for the bounce back, that's absolutely critical. And what's been proven historically with recessions, marketing investment effectiveness is the core differentiator. There's a very, very famous case study around Pizza Hut and Domino's, another one around Coke and Pepsi, a number of big global ones. We go, well, what does that mean for my business? If you actually bring it back to a local context, it means the same thing. It doesn't mean spending more money on marketing. It's about the effectiveness. And one mistake a lot of businesses make in a recession is they start to really look at their marketing as a cost and they start to pull back and that causes what we call the cash flow spiral. So you cut back on some marketing, that then hits your revenue line, so your cash flow drops on the revenue, so then you cut back on some more marketing, so then your revenue line drops some more, and you end up this cash flow spiral. So really focusing, costs, cash flow, marketing, investment, effectiveness, they are the three big things. And in the presentation, there's a couple of good reads around historical case studies here that'll be attached that can come out later on as well. So most companies that effectively market in a recession, they come out the other side much stronger with increased share. And there's a couple of reasons for that. One is the consumer subconsciously gets confidence by knowing that business is still around and still seeing them regularly. So it subconsciously or unconsciously reduces uncertainty and actually builds trust. And companies that reduce or stop marketing often take years to recover because their customers they were attracting go elsewhere and build some loyalty through that relationship. So they miss out on that piece of the pie, even if it is a lesser return during a recession because the pie is a bit smaller. And I'm going to share a slide next around the cost of marketing. It's unbelievable, some of the deals out there at the moment, and it's really about being connected and understanding what the opportunities are. And point 4 is viewing marketing as an investment, not as a cost. And viewing it as investment is your normal investment methodology. If I put $1 in, how much do I get out? If it's more than $1, that's great. If it's less than $1, don't spend it. So treating it much like a capital investment rather than that cost, like you would on your normal expense line. And there's 3-4 different reads in there around marketing investment, case studies showing it is a core differentiator. So that's a big point to take out today is whether you're e-commerce or non-e-commerce, look at how you market. If it's through digital, great. If it's through networking, great. If it's through other BD sourcing, great. But just really stay focused on that and don't put it in the too hard basket. It's really important. And I love this quote here. Henry Ford, it's been a long time since Henry Ford was around, but stopping advertising to save money is like stopping your watch to save time. And I'm pretty sure we know stopping your watch to save time doesn't work. So these are real live deals in the market at the moment, and there might be some of you that these are useful for. These are provided by well-known media agencies in New Zealand. I've taken their names out just to protect the puts protection in there. But with radio targeting Auckland, we're seeing the price from $26.50 on a rack rate down to $1,500. You can see this example down the bottom left. That's a pretty hefty investment there, but 230 grand worth of marketing discounted now down to 60,000. There's massive discounting going on. The one on the top right, they actually topped that up to be $127,000 worth of rack rate. If you think about the media industry, as a recession comes in, less people advertise, they've still got to fill space. So these deals come out, and I can assure you with print, with local newspapers, local radio, digital billboards, there's a lot of deals to be done. So if you just make sure you're looking at that cost versus return and treating it as investment, you can actually get better reach and better return during recessionary times by being different to everyone else and not pulling in the funnel. Now, Buy Kiwi. So how can Buy Kiwi help with e-commerce marketing effectiveness? I think most of us know that e-commerce has exploded, and COVID certainly helped with that, but it was exploding well beforehand. So the consumer is now more used to operating online. The issues around trust that existed a decade ago have really dissipated. And then when we all got locked in our homes, we didn't have much choice. So we actually went online, and we saw demographics and age groups that hadn't shopped online before start to like it. I won't mention the name, but one of the largest grocers in New Zealand 5 years ago, 6 years ago, was really nervous about e-commerce, and they thought it was going to destroy their physical model. A year ago, their e-commerce part of the business actually overtook physical, but they've seen physical grow as well. So that whole customer experience piece has come together very nicely. So Buy Kiwi, it's a marketplace. So marketplaces aren't a new phenomenon. but they are a rapidly growing phenomenon. And what they do is give scale. It's a platform where vendors can come together to sell their products or services to a curated customer base. So it's not indifferent to Sylvia Park as a mall, except it's digital. So, well-known examples here, Amazon, Trade Me. I've actually worked with Trade Me for a long time. Trade Me is a terrific example around Kiwis getting together to make a difference, and they've built a fantastic platform, which is now owned by overseas equity. But the role of the marketplace is to bring together the right vendors and the right customers to drive sales. And the marketplace owner earns a commission from each sale. So that's how Trade Me or Amazon fund their business. So that's how they pay for their technology, pay for their marketing investment, pay for their staff, and to attract customers. Globally, 47% of e-commerce sales are made through online marketplaces last year, over $2.7 trillion US dollars. So phenomenally huge. The other thing a marketplace does, it brings together scale. So rather than 500 businesses individually trying to attract 4 million Kiwis, you can actually use the scale of a marketplace to do that in a much more cost-efficient way. So Amazon, eBay, Expedia, Airbnb, Trade Me, Book a Batch, they're all examples of marketplaces. And the e-commerce growth story, and the growth story is still happening. Over $6 billion spent online in 2022, nearly 54 million online transactions. I'm going to hesitate. There might be 1 or 2 people on this webinar who didn't buy something online last year, but I'm going to guess most of you did. A whopping 147,000 online transactions per day. And just as importantly, 73% of online spending is with New Zealand-based businesses. And this is where Buy Kiwi is going to play a much bigger role going forward, is really communicating the understanding is if you buy directly from an overseas-owned business or a .co.nz website pretending to be a New Zealand business but it's actually overseas, and there's a lot of them, quite surprising, there's a couple of big issues. There's an issue around, is the consumer protected by the Consumer Guarantees Act? Very difficult to enforce. There's an overseas marketplace that's been flooding the advertising over the last couple of weeks. Looks like they're not charging GST. So there's some issues around trust. And then there's also an issue around, is it good for New Zealand? And a simple fact around spending money with overseas companies versus New Zealand-owned companies, if we all diverted just $50 a week of spend from overseas companies to New Zealand-based companies, that's $250 million a week that stays in New Zealand. And I'm sure we've seen our balance of payments issue recently. It would help phenomenally. And it's not the young ones. The shoppers age between 30 and 59, 2/3 of the online shopping spend. They tend to be more affluent, tend to have more disposable income, particularly at the 40 plus age, have lower mortgages, so less impacted by the squeeze around interest rates. And 1.8 million Kiwis shopped online in Q1, 2-3. So you will see here a slight decline from Q1 2022 to Q1 2023 around online. That was due to Auckland not being locked down. So some of the spend did shift back into physical. But if you look at the number versus 2020, it's just a huge, huge jump of almost 5 there. So a massive jump. And as part of our research in developing Buy Kiwi, over a 3-year period, we did a lot of research around, do Kiwi consumers really care about a Kiwi marketplace? And the good news is they do. They want to buy local, and they want to support New Zealand, and they want to keep their money here in New Zealand. They do have issues around, is it really a New Zealand-owned business? And there is a big issue around findability. I'm sure most of us have had challenges around SEO and all that sort of stuff. How do customers actually find your business or find your product and service? And that comes back to customer journey mapping and making sure when they're looking for your product or service that you're in front of that customer at the right time. So findability is a big barrier. And the other one is sadly, a lot of us try and do our e-commerce stuff ourselves, and we underestimate how complicated it is. And we start to see big drop-off rates with abandoned basket and all that sort of stuff, because the user experience is not as it should be. So that's another part of the problem that Buy Kiwi helps. We did our soft launch back in January, and the good news is Kiwis are voting with their wallets. They are really coming on to Buy Kiwi and really jumping on board, which we're absolutely stoked with, as are a lot of New Zealand-owned businesses, which is fantastic as well. And that's why we launched Buy Kiwi. Jump into that one. So here's an example. Hopefully you've been onto Buy Kiwi and had a look, but it's a marketplace. It's functionality-wise very similar to Amazon. You can search for a product. You've got vendor listings there. You buy online, you transact through a cart. It's the normal e-commerce stuff. It's already got 27,000 live products and over 70,000 SKUs, and enormous traffic coming through every day, which is growing rapidly. And what it means for you as a business owner with e-commerce, it's low risk and low effort and low cost for a positive return. So if you think of that pie shrinkage, this is a really good way for you to increase your distribution reach for low effort and low cost. The worst case scenario is if you come on Buy Kiwi and not sell one single product in a year, you'll be down $600 for the whole year. That's if you don't sell one single product. Now, if you don't sell one single product, there's a question to be asked around the quality of the product or the quality of the price around that stuff, because we're seeing some very strong sales. And it's a success fee-based model. So you gain instant access to our engaged e-com database. What that means, you gain instant access to more than already 200,000 Kiwis. And our goal is to be over 500,000 by December. And it takes less than 30 minutes to set up. It's so simple. Like Shopify and WooCommerce are definitely the best two from an integration perspective. An example around Shopify, we had a toy store come on board with over 1,500 products at 4:45 on a Friday afternoon, and their products were live Saturday lunchtime. First sale achieved that afternoon. Now, I don't want to set that as a standard going forward. We do say it's normally 2 to 3 days for products to be up and running, but it's a really simple, easy, low effort process. It's great for sales. It's great for brand awareness. I was doing some strategy work with a client recently, and they were looking at opening a new store. That was going to cost them $100K. When you looked at the fact you had to fit out the store, then you had to pay $8,000 per month in rent, increase salaries, increase headcount, do marketing, and it was actually better for them to come on to Buy Kiwi for $600 a year and reach all of New Zealand. And just importantly, you can leverage the Kiwi branding for local engagement. So Buy Kiwi is trademark registered. The proudly Kiwi owned is also trademark registered. For anyone with physical stores, we send you out some window stickers and point of sale stickers. You can also use the Buy Kiwi logo on your website, on your email, to really promote the fact that you're a New Zealand owned business. And the best thing about this is the ROI math is simple. Most e-commerce businesses have a margin of 50, some are lower, down to 30. Some of the really attractive ones have margins of 70%, success fee of 11.99, profit margin of 38%. If you don't sell anything, there's no success fee. But the big takeaway here is marketplaces are the easiest and fastest way to scale e-commerce. And the Amazon story globally, but particularly in America, has proven that, where comparatively small e-commerce businesses with good products and really good positioning have exploded and become very large businesses in months. So it's a really nice opportunity. So a couple of before I get to special deals, so how it works, it's an API feed. So we got the Buy Kiwi marketplace, as I showed you before. A customer comes in and they place an order. The API feed goes through to your e-commerce platform, Shopify and the likes. And really, from a vendor perspective, as a business, the customer feels exactly the same as someone who come direct. So it's not these big workarounds, not doing things differently. And then there's a daily flow and an hourly flow around products, making sure stock's up to date, pricing's up to date. We also talk to our vendors all the time. If they've got specials they want to do, maybe you've got stock you want to clear out. We do support our vendors with that through our social media channels and our email channels as well, with special offers out to our Buy Kiwi members. So for couple of specials we have on at the moment. So we've discounted our Ecom Gold and Ecom Platinum subscription offers. So this is the tech that connects your e-commerce platform with Buy Kiwi. So up to 100,000 SKUs for Gold, up to 5,000 SKUs for Platinum. We will go higher than 5,000. If there's more than 5,000, no problem at all. Your sales and your order email confirmations are all automated. Your e-com processes are all automated. Fortnightly sales payout. Most marketplaces pay out monthly. So we're really aware around cash flow, and so we pay out more often. All setup fees waived. And like I mentioned before, success fee of $11.99 on sales applies. There's no other fees. That includes transaction fees. So no Stripe fees. It's $11.99. That's straight it. And you gain access to 200,000 Kiwis, and it's growing every day. So we also give social media and Buy Kiwi email promotional support. And hopefully you've seen some of our ads out there. We've been on Mike Hoskins, The Herald, Business NZ, and so on. So there's lots of PR going out there to support the Buy Kiwi growth story. There's a link down the bottom for any special offers. And also I mentioned for non-e-commerce businesses, we do have business listings as well, which are 50% off for 12 months. So this gives you a business listing on Buy Kiwi. This is a brand new launch, by the way. So if you jump onto business listings right now, you'll find it a little bit skinny, but we're building it up very quickly. You get also use of our trademark logos to promote the fact you're New Zealand owned, and it's just $10 a month. So cheap as chips. For most businesses, one customer you're in front, 2 or 3 customers you're miles in front. It also helps SEO. So it helps your SEO as far as searchability on Google. The key requirement of all of this is it's only Kiwi-owned businesses. And the definition there is you must be at least 80% owned by New Zealand citizens or New Zealand residents. It's surprising the number of perceived Kiwi brands out there that actually aren't Kiwi-owned. They end up being owned by the Cayman Islands or some overseas interests, surprisingly. So we've actually declined a number of businesses so far where you look on the company's office and it looks like it's a New Zealand-owned business, but when you look into the shareholdings, it's overseas. And this is purely for New Zealand businesses only. So, questions and answers. I see we've got some up there. So,
yep. That's all right. Thank you so much, Jamie, for coming on today and for that detailed kind of synopsis of what's going on with the economy and for small businesses or SMEs here in New Zealand, Aotearoa. And it's great to know what's actually happening. Often we kind of live in our own bubbles. We don't know the broader overscope of what's going on. So a question here from Paul: does Buy Kiwi integrate with other e-commerce platforms, specifically Shopify, trying to maintain products and stock across multiple marketplaces and websites?
So we integrate with Shopify, with WooCommerce, with Sin7, with BigCommerce, partial integration with Wix. And this is what we're seeing across the SME segment in New Zealand is the cheapest solution is not always the best solution. So I'm not going to call out certain e-commerce solutions as in a bad way, but I will call out, in our view, the best two for the total solution are Shopify and WooCommerce.
Mm-hmm. And we're Switzerland over here at Digital Boost. So we will not comment at all, but we'll give you information on all the platforms.
Yeah.
And also, we have a lot of Kiwi website builders as well. Let's not forget about those. Do you integrate with Rocket Spark and Zealed or any of those website builder, Dazzly, any of those names come to mind?
We can integrate with any, but the best two from an integration efficiency perspective are the two biggest ones in the world.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, cool. And not Squarespace.
We can integrate with Squarespace. There is an issue around the stock update with Squarespace.
Okay.
So and I think this comes back to Paul's question. So with our full automated solution around Shopify and WooCommerce, it's inventory update, the whole lot.
Right. Thank you so much. I'm just going to jump over to the other platforms and make sure I'm not missing any questions across YouTube. If you guys have any questions sitting out there, I can see you. Drop them into the chat. Check Facebook. Okay, some questions here. Great. Is there more cost to upscale to boost or promote?
At this stage, no. We will be coming out with packages to help businesses who want to do additional above and beyond.
Mhm.
In the first year for Buy Kiwi, the primary aim is getting businesses' products out to Kiwi consumers.
Okay.
As we move into next year, there will be more around segmentation of data and all that fun stuff. So let's say you sell baby products and you want to do a special campaign directed at mothers of young children. We'll be able to assist with that in a profitable way. That's certainly the intention.
Okay. Is there more? Okay, we got that one. Sorry, do you pay monthly and a success fee?
Sorry, I missed that one.
It says, do you pay monthly? Like, do you have to pay for it monthly? And is there a success fee?
So the subscription is monthly and the success fee is 11.99% for eCommerce sales. So that's, if your products are listed, it's 11.99 and that's paid out every fortnight. Okay. Which with most marketplaces, they pay 30 days in arrears, which can be up to 75 days. We've been very deliberate around paying out 14 days to help with cash flow. Okay. If you're a non-e-commerce business and a customer finds you through the service provider listing, there's no commission involved there at all. Okay.
Another question here. Do the products have to be made in New Zealand or just a New Zealand owned business?
That's a great question. We grappled with this one for a long time. So the answer is no, they don't have to be made in New Zealand. And it's in our FAQs on Buy Kiwi and part of our regular comms. The fact is we do not make everything that we want or need in New Zealand. And iPhones, TVs, cars, fridges, you name it, a lot of that sort of stuff. So when you come back to the premise around our absolute purpose is to support New Zealand-owned businesses first and foremost. Mm-hmm. We do support Kiwi Made, and we do have a dedicated category for Kiwi Made, and we do have dedicated branding and logos for point of differences around Kiwi Made. So we're doing both, but no, you can source products from overseas and list them and Buy Kiwi. We don't promote drop shipping.
Okay, great. We do have another question here on how are you going to scale Buy Kiwi?
We're doing it already.
Okay.
So we did a capital raise last year, raised the capital and did our soft launch in January and started to get scale. And at the moment, we're adding about 3,000 to 5,000 products every week. Our goal is to be at 150,000 products by December and to be at 500,000 members by December. So adding scale through the technical capability, but also through marketing effectiveness, which I guess the presentation touched on quite a bit today. We also own a marketing business and we have about 200 businesses across New Zealand that we look after. So that gives us phenomenal insight around the consumer and what's happening in the marketing space.
Okay. Question here. The site is set up very well for e-commerce. What plans do you have for promotion and support for service providers on the platform?
As far as service provider, for this year, it's around the listing and the ability for Kiwi members to come on and say, all right, if I'm in Tauranga and I want a plumber, I want to make sure I'm using a New Zealand-owned plumber. That's it for this year around the service provider side. That's also why it's only $10.
Okay. Point of contact for monthly listing option, $10 per month a year. That was a comment, I guess. I'm not sure. Sorry, 1 second. The chat is blowing up.
Yeah.
Let me just get to here. Are we able to have help provided to set up for those that are new to e-commerce and have no idea what to do?
Absolutely. So most of our new vendors who come on board do a 15 to 20 minute Zoom call. It's actually very easy. So with a couple of links that are in this presentation, if you look at buykiwi.co.nz, that's the customer facing part of Buy Kiwi. If you look at buy.kiwi, that is the business support part of Buy Kiwi. There's a whole heap of stuff on there.
Drop those links into the chat.
Yeah.
Yeah. So if you drop it into the chat, then people will be able to easily click on them.
But yes, we do give support and help around that.
Okay, great. We do have another question. I'll be there. Just 1 second. I'll answer that in a moment. Okay, I got one of your, okay, I'll do it for you. That's no problem. We're just sending it out to just me, but yeah. And then, do you have a training program for your customers to use your platform?
No, that's an interesting question. No, because our target market are e-commerce users in New Zealand. So they generally have capability around that. Do we get questions through supported by Kiwi around certain things? Yes. We had a question yesterday around how do I calculate my delivery to Palmerston, and it's add to cart, delivery comes up, and off you go. But no, we don't actually.
Okay. Because a lot of sites, they have training modules that you can do that are, short videos that you can go onto. That's probably what that's in regards to.
Yeah. That's a good thought.
Okay. So question here. Also, I got to go back up. Can you take on accounting/booking firms?
As far as being a service provider, yes, absolutely. As far as sales, if you're looking to sell a service, that is possible. We do have digitally enabled products. So, for example, one of our vendors sells a service around dietary support. So if you've got a digital product, yes, we can sell a digital product as well.
Okay. Who do you contact? How do I contact if interested in the monthly listing, or rather, who do you contact?
I'll type this in.
Can you make sure that you're sending that through to everyone and not just me?
Yeah.
Thank you.
There we go.
Oh.
There's also the link on buy.kiwi as well. So you click on and register.
Okay.
The registration process takes a couple of minutes. A NZBN number is required so we can validate that you're a New Zealand business.
Mm-hmm.
And I see there's a question about sole traders. Sole traders are absolutely fine. We may ask for a confirmation of residency. So just to ensure, yeah.
Okay, great. So that's all the questions from there. I've been busy passing through. Let me just make sure that we've got everybody on the other platforms as well. Right. Looks like we're good on Facebook, LinkedIn, and YouTube. So fantastic. Just double check. All right. Well, we've done well for time today, and I think everyone's got their questions answered. I would encourage you, if you have more questions, reach out to the team over at Buy Kiwi, and they'll be able to answer them for you. If it's in regards to some other things, you need some more support with your business, reach out to our support team. They're absolutely lovely. support@digitalboost.co.nz. Hoping you got lots of value out of this session today. I know I did. And thank you again, Jamie, for joining us here on Digital Boost.
Thank you so much. And thank you, everyone. Look forward to catching up.
Have a wonderful day, everyone. See you on Thursday. We're going to be tuning in with John Mayberry. Don't miss it. So it's always good to know how to market yourself. And we're going to be, what is our topic? I'm going to tell you what it is because you don't want to miss it. The fundamentals of story creation for small business. That's our workshop. So it's going to be super, super fun, but you can't tune in on social media. You have to join us through Zoom. So make sure you register to that event. See you then. Thanks, Jamie. Thanks.